Welcome to another episode of the Muffed Punt podcast, and tonight we're starting our playoff predictions episode. I'm definitely super excited. I hope you guys are all excited. How we feeling this evening, gentlemen?
Ready for some playoff football, guys.
I'm ready to roll. Let's go.
I am indeed. So we're going to start off with a quick little warm-up topic, and then right after that, we're going to get into our playoff predictions, and then from there, we'll see where the episode takes us. I don't have a set format for this week, but I'm going to try to keep things at around about an hour-ish, so we will see how it goes. So the first thing I wanted to ask you guys, and feel free to chime in no particular order here, but I would like to hear from each and every one of you. Our warm-up topic for this week is, if I were to give you the choice between one of these two, which one are you choosing? Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, or Justin Herbert and the Chargers? Which one would you rather be the head coach of?
I don't feel like this is tough. I feel like you go with the Chargers, without a doubt.
But why do you feel that way specifically? Because I feel like both of these teams have a decent amount of holes, and as far as like your overall team is concerned. So I'm just kind of curious. That's why I went to this question in particular for me, is because there's a lot of different reasons as to why you could feel this way.
For me, it's a matter of if that offense plugs in some good offensive linemen, or if they start to develop some of the younger ones, then their offense is complete. They've got a number one receiver. They've got running backs. They've got a quarterback who looks like he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. On defense, I think that their secondary is very solid. I think with the younger Bosa, they've got a good edge rusher. So I think that that's far and away the better situation to end up in. While we all think that Trevor Lawrence is this generation's Peyton Manning, I mean, we thought that about Andrew Luck and Cam Newton. Andrew Luck is out of the league, and Cam Newton looks like he should probably be on a couch somewhere just watching or playing Madden. So there's never any guarantees when you don't see anybody play at the next level. So I would take the quarterback who looked either the best or second best, because Burrow obviously looked good before he got injured, but we'll see how he comes back from that leg injury. I think that without a doubt, you have to take the team with a better known quarterback right now.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Paul. I mean, you know, the pieces are there right now in LA with the Chargers. I mean, or at least some of the pieces. I mean, obviously I think they have way more pieces available to them than the New York Jets do at this point. Because the piece that the New York Jets are going to get isn't even on their team yet, potentially.
You mean the Jags?
The Jags, excuse me. I just, you know, other than their potential get at quarterback, who else, you know, who do they have that's worth anything to really write home about? I mean, you look at the Chargers roster and, you know, guys that stick out to me. I mean, Justin Herbert, I mean, he played outstanding with that, you know, with that team this year, consider all things considered, and under, you know, having a poor team around him. For the most part, anyway. But there's some solid pieces there. Keenan Allen. I mean, he's a star number one wideout. Justin Herbert is, you know, your quarterback of the future there, obviously. I think they underperformed for the coach that they just let go. I really felt 2 years ago that the Chargers could be a Super Bowl contender. And this year, obviously, that didn't pan out for him going into it. But I really feel like the Jags are, and I know, Paul, you and I had a little, little text message thing going the other day about the Jags. I don't think that anybody can be successful there. You know, you could put, I don't even know if you could put Joe Montana in that place and have it be successful. And
that's because he was a mediocre quarterback.
Yeah. All right. Let's go Tom Brady then. Any number one quarterback you can think of. But what I'm saying is that the fan base there isn't as dogged and diehard and there to support them through thick and thin. Now, I also understand that when your team's 4-10 and, you know, 4-12, 4-10-1, 4 whatever it was for the Eagles this year, even if they had fans in the stadium, there probably wouldn't be a full house. But I feel like the Jags, even if they were 12-4, I still don't see them filling that stadium. I just think it's a matter of geography and a fan base than it is ownership and front office and whatnot. I mean, Doug Marrone's a good coach. They should have done better.
It's about the fans of the state of Florida. That's what it's all about. The Florida fans only show up when you're doing well because there's just so much stuff to do there outside and around town and whatnot. Is that I saw it with the Rays when I lived in near Tampa. Unless they were doing well and they were in the playoffs, nobody went to those games, and they didn't do anything to minimize the price of the tickets to get more people to go. They kept them expensive, but that's just how Florida rolls. But go ahead.
No, I mean that's really what I was kind of going to drive home. That point is, I mean, you look at the Marlins and they had a pretty decent team this year. Obviously, COVID, different situation, but even before that. How many fans were they getting in their stadium a night? 2,000, like 5,000, maybe. I mean, that's minor league stuff. And I think Florida as a whole has got a poor showing. You can flip the coin though and say Tampa Bay, Lightning and hockey, and say that they have a very solid fan base there. But it also helps that they just won the cup and they have a great team and have had a competitive team, with bright futures and high expectations for the last several years. I mean, you take that over the course of time, and the expectations are there, the fan base is there, the want is there, the drive to go to a game is there, and I just don't see that with the Jags.
You have a lot of people who are transplants in Florida, so when you do well, it's easy to pick up fans. But when I was living there, that was the number one, like, amongst the people that I knew that lived there, the Lightning was like the most popular thing among sports fans there. But I mean, I love hockey, so it was easy to go see the games, and everything there was super nice. But yeah, man, when you do well and it's like a transplant city for the most part, I think that's pretty easy. What are your thoughts, Terry?
Before Terry takes it on a different track, I wanted to chime in on Ralph's real quick. When you're talking about the Lightning, you're talking about a stadium that seats 18,000 people versus 65,000 people.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
It's a lot easier to fill it up. I think that also with Los Angeles teams, you've got the same thing as Florida teams where there's so much to do there. They're not going to show up unless people are winning. And I don't think that you necessarily have to have a good local fan base to be a good team. Because let's look at Eagles fans. They hate Santa Claus. They've booed everybody.
Stop.
So I mean, let's just take. Come on, let's call it spade a spade. Let's call it spade a spade. Nope.
Come on.
Fake news. Fake news.
You just listen to what Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels talk about every time they're in Philly. Get out of here with this Santa Claus stuff.
Now here's a guy that got pelted by snowballs.
The cheesesteak.
Oh.
Sorry about that. Go ahead, guys.
Remember when I said I missed you?
No.
Dude, he can only hold it in for so long. And it's like a record couple minutes into the show. And he's like, all right, let me tell you something about you that you don't know. Are you ready? Here you go. Number 1, you're dumb. Number 2, you're wrong. Number 3, you're never going to be as good as me. And that's Paul in a nutshell. We can keep going.
Oh, the pain is too real. The pain is too real.
I would just have to say, I mean, both what Paul and Ralph said, I agree with both of those points on different perspectives. I think.
See, he agreed.
The
Jags in Philadelphia.
The Jags are kind of in a tough spot. I mean, look at like Florida to me is like, if you look at like the South, it's all college football dominated. So like the fan bases down there for football are more on the college. You got Florida State, the Gators. They're getting more of a draw than you're getting from Jacksonville, which it's a small city. It's not a big draw, big market. So I mean, like to go back to your original question, I would say absolutely 100%. I would go with Justin Herbert and the Chargers job because. Look at now you're not in the little small San Diego market anymore. You're in LA in that massive monster stadium where they just put a bunch of money in, and as soon as fans are able to get back in there, they're going to start pumping some more money into that team. Plus, I think your starting pieces are. I mean, I actually think I didn't expect Herbert to be this good, but Trevor Lawrence, you never know. Quarterbacks can always kind of bust. I mean, who knows? But then you look at I like the Chargers have Derwin James and Bosa on defense. Those are two great. I mean, James has been hurt, but he's still a stud. I mean, so you got some good starting pieces there. I think I like Keenan Allen, but he gets injured a lot. But I think you have a better base there. I look at the Jags and what just happened with Ramsey. Ramsey's a stud, but they can't pay him. Nobody wants him. Frankly, he's not going to stay there anyway. So they just flip them for as many picks as they can get, and they're probably going to keep doing it. They'll be the Marlins of the NFL until I think at some point that they're probably going to move.
Well, that was going to be my next point, and not to cut you off, Terry, but that was going to be my next point. And if you look at teams that have been fledgling, not having good fan base, good turnout for games, et cetera, and this goes across sports. I mean, the one that I can think of the most is if you remember the Atlanta Thrashers in the NHL. They couldn't pay people to go to those games down there. And then all of a sudden, they moved to Winnipeg, a city in a country that loves hockey, that, had the Winnipeg Jets back, 80s, 90s, whenever they moved, and I think they moved and became the Colorado Avalanche. But you look at teams that move like that, and the success rate or the turnover rate from being a terrible team to a competitive, every day in the mix kind of team, I think you see that a lot more than you see if a team like the Jags were to just stay there and just stay there and stay there and stay there. I mean, I think the best thing for them would be to move.
Okay, so first I want to say, Ralph, for all the reasons you were wrong in your diatribe, listen to Terry because he knows exactly what he was talking about. There, I said it. Now you can't say it. I'm always contrarian about everything. Second, if you want to move Jacksonville, where are you going to move them? Are you going to move them to London? Because that's the worst idea ever.
Well, no, I'm not saying London. I'm not. I don't know if there's another city that could, that could house an NFL team. I mean, where are you going to go? That's a good question. Where are you?
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, because you're obviously not going to shut down the team. So if you're going to keep a team, but you want to move them out of Jacksonville, I mean, where are you going to go?
St. Louis?
You go back to St. Louis. That's what I was going to say. I mean, I think that London that's what the NFL wants, is them to be the London team. But I think now that with COVID and everything, I think that whole plan is set sail, because you see what just happened. I mean, things had to be kind of tightly locked down for this season. I mean, and they're still, spreading the disease and stuff. But you can't be flying overseas to have, football games. Plus, what player is going to want to play for that team where you're on a plane pretty much the entire year, flying back and forth. I mean,
exactly.
No one's going to want to play on that team. So I think St. Louis makes the most sense, because I think a lot of people were upset about the fact that the Rams, just took the money and went back to LA. But I mean, there's got to be a few markets out there.
Do you know what St. Louis attendance was? Did people show up there more than they show up in Jacksonville?
I mean, I would have to think so. I mean, I can't say for sure, but I mean, we've all seen games. We've all seen the 1:00 games where the Jags are playing, a team, and there's half the stadium is all covered up in, black tarps because nobody's there.
Yep. They only uncover those for college football games.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah. I just think that the Dolphins are the Dolphins and the Bucks. They have good footholds in Miami. I think Jacksonville's not a city that should be having, sad as it is to say, I hate to see, the true fans of that team have to lose their base, but I just don't see that team thriving there. Yeah. I mean, I know they've been there since they were, started back in the 90s. But I mean, it is hard to move a franchise. But the owner of the Jags, he's super rich guy. I mean, he could probably swing something if he wanted to try and do it, especially with, if you're going to have Trevor Lawrence, who could be the face of the league. And, the rumors of Urban Meyer, those are two huge draws. And then maybe maybe you can turn that franchise into something big.
How do you feel about going to San Diego?
Man, if you're a Charger fan, from San Diego, and you had that team ripped from you, how do you feel? Do you follow them to LA? Do you cut your ties with them? Like, how would you feel if, the Packers moved to, I don't know, Idaho or something? I don't know, the Boise Packers. Like, would you still like them? Would you still follow them? How would you feel if the Eagles died?
All right, just everyone on the team just died.
That's what I'm saying.
The worst question you've ever asked. That was so painful. Why did you do that to me?
Well, because that's what
wonder why I rip on the
Chargers
Eagles.
fans are going through.
No, I completely agree with what you're saying, and I do agree that Jacksonville, not a great place for a team. I think it was the vocal minority that got the football team there, and it's San Diego. That could be a location that I think would look into. I think another one that makes sense based on when I lived there would be San Antonio, just because they're so San Antonio with the Spurs is how Wisconsin is with the Packers. They're all such diehard fans of the Spurs. The only problem with that is San Antonio is the second biggest Cowboys fan area, so I don't think that Jerry would let that happen.
Yeah, that's honestly the first place that I thought of is Texas. I just didn't know what part of Texas would be a good place because it's just Texas is so huge. But there is a ton of football fans there in general. But I mean, these are all good points. Another one that came to mind too was Oakland. But it'd be really hard to get a new stadium there because you'd have to do that as well. Because no way you're going to go play back at that place again. It's tough. I really think we had a good question to warm everybody up. We got a good over 10 minutes of chatting in. So I think we're ready for predictions. What do you guys think?
Let's go.
All right, let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's have Terry tell me how wrong I am some more.
Go ahead.
Or not Terry, Paul. See, I was wrong about his name too.
See, look, it's not my fault because you're apparently wrong about everything, and I'm just trying to make you better at this. So just when you're done, listen to the show and just listen to what Terry has to say and take notes. You'll get better.
Dude, I can't wait till next year. When next year goes and we're all here all the time and we can do our picks, the shit talking is going to be epic, and I just can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I mean, I'm going to keep it going because I went 12-4 last week, so I'm hot like fire in the last 4 weeks. I think I haven't led less than 10 wins. Come on, guys, you got to catch up.
Oh, snap! You hear that, Paul? He's telling you got to catch up.
Hey, that's fine with me. I suck at picks. I can't pick the NFL for anything. True story. I used to do a college and an NFL pick'em where we would each pick. There were 3 of us, and we would each go through and pick 5 games that we liked. The college one, 2 years in a row, I had it wrapped up halfway through the season. The NFL one, I didn't come close to, I was in 3rd place by so much. It was really just a 2-man thing, and I was there just to play in the sandbox. So I cannot pick the NFL at all. I never have been able to.
This year especially, it's been like wildly inconsistent. I mean, you get 1 week teams that are supposed that you would absolutely say are going to win. They're getting knocked off. Like this past week, the Jags were actually hanging around about to beat the Colts. And the Colts are fighting for a playoff spot. Just doesn't make a lot of sense week to week, especially this year. But I would agree with Paul. College football is a lot easier on the picks. But
for me,
the NFL, I don't know. I feel like there's always a team that's got it out for the bettors. They're like, we're not letting these guys hit their parlays this week. Screw them. Like the Rams a couple of weeks ago losing to the Jets.
It's pronounced NFC South, and it's every time they play a divisional game.
I also think it's really tough the harder, it gets a lot harder as farther the season goes on. Like in the beginning of the year, it's a lot of like who you think is going to win is usually who wins. I think towards the end of the year, it's a lot more subject to the environment, subject to circumstance. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, we're, obviously once you're out of the playoff picture, I mean, you're just playing for incentives on your contract, but at least the players are. I mean, that's really it.
Yeah, and some teams are awesome and let players get them. Other teams aren't, but we can get into that later. Start those picks, baby.
All right. Wildcard weekend. We got a new format this year, which I think is pretty awesome. 3 games each day, a 1, a 4, and an 8. I think that's awesome for an opening playoff weekend. So first game Saturday, 1:00 start. We got the Colts traveling to Buffalo. Right now, we have the line is at Buffalo is a 6.5 point favorite at home. I think rightfully so. I'll go first on this one. I'm pretty sure most of you guys are going to go along the same way. I'm not picking against Buffalo right now. They're super hot. I mean, they're playing at home. Not that it really matters, but I think they are going to get some fans in there, according to what they were saying. But I mean, I think Indianapolis's defense is pretty strong. I think they have a pretty good team overall. Solid run game. I think this is the week when Phillip Rivers finally folds, and Josh Allen's gonna have a big game. So I'm going Bills on this one.
I'm going to go with the Bills too, and I think it's going to be because of Stephon Diggs.
There's a part of me that wants to take the Colts, but I can't go against the Bills right now with how well they're playing. And 6.5 points at home, I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than that. I was actually kind of expecting more like a 3 to 3.5 point line on that game. But I'll take the Bills.
Man, if all of you guys are going to Bills, I think might go Colts in this one, just because I really do feel like their defense is really good. I feel like the Bills are really feeling themselves right now, and there's just really a chance that this just might not happen for them. And since these picks technically aren't going to count in the grand scheme of things for us this year, I'm going to go more wild card this year than I normally would. I'm going Colts.
Brandon, remember the part of the show earlier where I told Ralph why he was wrong? Same thing for you here.
I could very well be, but I mean, I really do feel like it's very possible for the Bills to come out and lay an egg. This isn't completely uncharted territory. They have the pressure of the world on their backs right now from all the Buffalo fans out there who are elated to be in the situation that they're in right now. I think it's going to be a lot. It's going to be nice for Josh Allen to get some playoff experience, a place I don't think anybody thought that he would be in this year. So that I think is going to be great for him. Do I think that's going to
MVP candidate Josh Allen?
Well, we can get into that later.
In the playoff, how did no one see this coming? I've been telling you all year. I was high on the Bills. I was high on Josh Allen. I was like, you know what? They are going to roll this year.
He just lies through his teeth so well. I don't know what it is.
I've watched a lot of Donald Trump press conferences. So,
you know what it is, bud? I can't see your hands. That's the problem. Anyway, I just think it's entirely possible, which is what I love about playoffs, is that either one of these teams could win this game. But so in this one, for me, I don't count out the Colts. I think they are a good team. I think it's entirely possible they could win this game.
All right, next we got the 4:00 start. We have the Rams limping into the playoffs, going to Seattle. This is this to me is an interesting one. I mean, I've got, no faith in the Rams right now. They just don't. I mean, other than their defense, I don't really see them being able to do much. I mean, Seattle's defense has kind of picked up pretty strong lately. But then Seattle's offense, which was hot most of the season, has really cooled down. So this one's a tough one. But I'll let one of you guys go first. So I'll throw it to Brandon first on this one.
I'm definitely going to go Seattle in this game. To me, I would be absolutely shocked if the Rams did not if the Rams actually took this game. So for me, it's Seattle all the way.
Can I make a conditional pick based on something that, because since we're doing this too early in the week for us to know?
You can certainly stipulate it out loud. I mean, at the end of the day, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So if Jared Goff starts the game, or if he's healthy, then I've got the Rams. If Jared Goff is out, then I'm taking the Seahawks.
So according to the injury report as of right now, Jared Goff is out.
Okay. So if it sticks that way, then I'm going to go with the Seahawks. But if Jared Goff is able to play after surgery last week, I got the Rams coming through in this one.
What is it about the Rams that you like with the season that Seattle's had that makes you feel like that they could win that game?
I think that the defense on the Rams, I think that Aaron Donald will show Russell Wilson what it's like to play against a real defense. And I think that Jared Goff can make enough plays to not lose the game, because I don't think he'll be playing with his, shall we say, bloated self-confidence. So I think that he would be a little more conservative. He wouldn't have any big turnovers. And I think that defense could shut down the Seahawks.
I gotcha. I was just curious what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, but if Jared Goff doesn't play, I think that team just falls flat.
What was the split on their season series this year?
I think it was 1-1.
1-1. I was going to say, typically you don't see a team sweep and then also win in the playoffs as well. Usually there's one game that could go either way. Mm-hmm. But I'm kind of, I'm with you on this one, Paul. I think, Goff gives them that little added extra right now. And Seattle hasn't, their offense hasn't been what it was. I mean, Russell Wilson, earlier in the year, we were, really high on him being an MVP, potential MVP candidate, MVP winner. And he's kind of cooled off. I've seen him. How many interceptions has he thrown in the last couple of weeks? He's really been kind of chucking it up there lately and not getting as much success as he did earlier in the season. So I'm going to go Seahawks, but the Rams here they could still take it, but I'll go Seahawks.
All right, so I'll wrap this up with I'm going Seahawks all the way on this one. Also for our betting fans out there, right now the line is the Seahawks are a 4-point favorite at home. Seahawks are 7-1 at home on the year with only a 4-point spread. I really like the Seahawks on this one, especially if Goff is out. I know the Rams defense has been really tough, but I just feel like when it comes playoff time, I just feel like, Russell Wilson in Seattle just kind of kick it into another gear. I see Seattle run away with that. I'm going Seahawks on that one. All right. So last game, Saturday night, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That's Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the.
No. You said it wrong. Team. You said it wrong. It's the Tampa Bay Gronkaneers.
The Bucs at the football team.
Oh, okay, that game.
Eek. Anybody taking Washington in this one?
We made a bet last week, and I'm sticking with it. I'm taking Washington.
So he's right. We did make a bet last week, so therefore I will be taking the Bucs. But let me just tell you, I do think that it is a really good bet on your behalf there, Paul, because Rivera, I think I was scared to have him come into the NFC least because I do think he's a competent coach. I think that guy knows how to manage a locker room. I think you saw that he had very little room to deal with Dwayne Haskins and what sounds like was going on in that locker room. So I think for me, that is a really good bet on your behalf. But, dude, if Tom Brady does not win this game, how much does that tarnish his legacy? Because
not at all, because he has 6 rings.
You don't think, though, that having all this set up, now that he actually has everything set up to show that he can do it without Belichick, and then if he fails and Belichick fails, what do we take away from that?
How did he fail? He went 11-5. He had a Tom Brady-like year. What else do you want from him? Football's a team sport. Brady has always been a little bit jittery when teams rush him a lot. Rivera's a defensive coach, and I think that Chase Young is going to be right next to Tom in the backfield for most of the day and just holding hands and singing Kumbaya.
What do you guys think, Ralph?
I don't think Washington. Look, that defense is stout. Chase Young is a superstar already, and it's going to continue to be on the rise. And as an Eagles fan, I really hate to have that guy in our division for the next couple of years, several years. But they're not primetime ready right now. Give me the Bucks.
Yeah, I'm taking the Buccaneers on this one too. I think for Paul, we should give him the +8 on Washington. I think that should be fair on this one.
I'm not giving Paul anything.
But I mean, I agree. I think I like. I mean, Ron Rivera with the the defensive mindedness of him coming in there with now having almost an entire defense loaded with first round defensive talent. They're going to be a big problem for a while. And the cupboard's not empty on the offensive side. I mean, McLaurin's obviously a good player, and they have a couple of pretty solid running backs. I mean, they just need to get a quarterback. They need to get
with more than one leg.
Their line.
Yeah, I was going to say they've got a one-legged quarterback this week.
I get nervous every time Alex Smith drops back. I just don't want to ever see that happen again. That's the most awful thing. But I do kind of agree with Brandon though, in the sense that I think if Brady comes out and Washington starts really getting to him and he looks rattled in this game and they lose, I mean, I get it. He's got all the rings, but this was supposed to be the year that it's like he's the one that actually was the reason for all those rings, not Belichick. Which
I think you're in an ideal season. I think that you're correct, but in a season with no OTAs, limited training camp, where he's trying to build and learn a new system, build connections with new receivers, I don't think that you can say that. I think that's unfair.
I would say at this point in the season, we see that the Tampa Bay's been kind of humming on offense the last 3-4 weeks. I mean, they've been just rolling up points on teams. So, I mean, I think they're starting to click, which I also would say that they're a dangerous team right now also. So if they come out and they just crush Washington, then I don't think anybody wants to play them.
Dude, he's dropping bombs in there to Godwin and Brown over the last couple of weeks. It's been impressive.
All the weapons they have, it's there's very few defenses that are going to be able to, there's no defense in the NFC that I think is going to be able to stop them. They might better slow them down. It's going to be a lot of shootouts.
Yep, and hopefully it's going to be some dinero coming our way, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm going with Tampa. All right, good. So we got Sunday, first game of the day, 1:00. Another Baltimore Ravens at Tennessee Titans game. These are usually the super close games. Another playoff matchup between these two. It's going to be pretty good. This is probably the toughest pick, in my opinion, of this weekend coming up. I thought about this one a little bit, and I am going to go with the Titans on this one. I just feel like I think I know Lamar Jackson has not really played well in big spots. I think he is going to play well in this game, but I like the balance of Tennessee, their toughness. And, I think Derrick Henry rolls. And I actually think Tannehill's going to have a pretty good game. I think it's going to be pretty high scoring affair, but I'm going Titans on this one.
I'm going to pick the Titans on this one as well. Until Lamar Jackson can prove to me he knows how to play in the playoffs. To draw some basketball analogies, I think that he's Isaiah Thomas. Looks really good in the regular season, but can't beat the Celtics. I don't think that for at least a couple more years, that Lamar Jackson's going to be able to do too much. So I'm taking the Titans here.
Yeah, pretty much for the same reasons, Paul. Titans for me. Derrick Henry is the other big reason for me. That dude is just a monster. And if he gets 20, 25 carries in this game, Titans.
2025. I would bet you he gets over 25. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, as an aside, how sad is it that he's the 8th player to get 2,000 yards and no one's talking about him? How much do running backs not matter anymore?
Well, how about it's the second Titan to do that and still nobody talks about it?
To be fair, the first Titan was not very good.
He still rushed for over 2,000.
Still not very good.
Well, it's an accomplishment to me. Was it like 6 guys who have ever even done that in the history of the NFL?
He was the 8th.
8th guy. Okay, so I knew it was less than 10. So that's an absolute feat for sure.
I completely agree. For as much as I hate to say this, for me, the biggest accomplishment was OJ because he did it in 14 games.
Yeah, that is true. We have the extended season now, so that definitely makes things a little bit different for sure. But I think for this game, there's absolutely no question to me. I'm going to go with the Titans. I think that with the season that they've had, they're just primed and ready. I was thinking about like who's been my Super Bowl favorite. And I like I said from the beginning of the year, they're kind of like my dark horse pick. Because if that team gets rolling, I really think that with the mindset that Vrabel can get those players in, that they can just be dangerous. They could beat anybody on any given Sunday. So, but on this one, for everything you guys said, this entire year I've picked against Lamar, and for the most part, I've been right. So I will continue to do so.
I love Mike Vrabel as a coach. I think he was the perfect type of player to become a coach. He was one where he was an all-effort player. He wasn't the most talented person, but he was unrelenting. And I'm very happy to see the success that he's having in Tennessee.
Yeah, and I think it's Belichick like gets that credit for like him being in the coaching tree, even though I don't really feel like that counts. I feel like the mentality that guy has that he's built over his life is what's really translates into what makes him a great coach. I think he just happens to have been coached by Belichick.
All right, so we got, let's see, next one on tap is the 4:00 game Sunday. We have Chicago heading to New Orleans. I mean, this one kind of on paper, it looks like a blowout to me. But you never know with the NFL. I don't know if anybody else is going to take them. I'm not.
Nope.
But I do feel like this could be one that, could be interesting and a more interesting game than people think. But I'm not picking that way. I'm going Saints on this one.
Saints for me as well.
If we take the points, I would take the Bears plus the points. But if you're just going straight money line, then the Saints are going to win this game, I think. But I agree it's closer on paper. That's why I would take the points and think that I would win.
It's another bet that taking the points you're getting 10 points. And the Bears defense isn't that bad. They're still pretty tough, and they have a good run game, but I mean, it's Trubisky. If they get behind, Trubisky's not going to be able to bring them back.
Their run game's not very good, but yeah.
I mean, obviously.
I was just dripping with sarcasm.
I think it's going to be an interesting game for sure. I think that the defense for the Bears are definitely going to bring it, but there's no way I'm not taking the Saints in this game.
All right, last one on tap for the weekend. We got Browns heading to Pittsburgh.
Oh, this game is not fair.
Without a coach.
Without a coach.
Without a lot of things.
Without a coach.
Without an offensive line coach. Without their offensive coordinator, I think, is going to be their head coach for the game. But yeah, they're missing a lot of pieces.
You could say it could be like a rallying cry for the team, but I just don't see them. I mean, I think Pittsburgh's kind of hit their low points of the season already. I think Tomlin will have them ready to go. I don't see any way Pittsburgh loses this game. So that's the way I'm picking.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. If the Browns had their full coaching staff and didn't have illnesses to deal with, I really think that I would end up taking the Browns, but I don't see the Browns beating Mike Tomlin without a coach. I think Mike Tomlin's too good for that.
Yeah, agreed. And, I think we've talked about, in previous podcasts, feeling bad for a fan base or feeling bad for a team in general. And, seeing the Browns get into the playoffs after 17 years, and then to have these circumstances around it and not have their full accompaniment of coaching and players and whatnot. And, the game a couple weeks ago or last week, whenever it was, when they didn't even have a wide receiver on their team. All the adversity that they've been through and now continue to be under for their first playoff game in 17 years. And the deck is stacked against them. So I don't see a way that they win this game. Steelers for me.
Yeah, very much agree. I'm taking the Steelers, but I have a quick question, just a what if you will. If the Steelers do lose, is Big Ben going to retire?
For the sake of college girls everywhere, I hope not, because we'll have no idea where he is most of the time.
It's the best joke that keeps on giving. All right, I was just curious because I feel like that's basically where that would go. If the Steelers lose this game, which I don't think they will, I still think it's a pretty good likelihood that he retires in this year. If not, I think he might try to come back one more time, but then I think that's probably going to be it after that.
I don't think he retires after this year.
I think he's got another year left in him.
Yeah, I mean, I think he probably will try and pride it out, stick it in for one more year, but I don't think he's obviously, he doesn't have the ability to throw the ball downfield like he used to, but he's tough. He's a tough guy. So, I mean,
I don't think he's that tough.
He'll keep in game.
I think he over exaggerates all the injuries, and that's why he's able to always come back early. And I think that he's just someone who vapes and, he's going to get cervical cancer someday. It's not going to be a good look for him. It's going to be awkward. But I do think that if the Steelers or the Saints win the Super Bowl, that whoever's quarterback wins is not coming back for another year. But I don't have either of those teams winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, me either.
Well, there was talk earlier within the last couple of weeks, actually, that the Breeze was going to retire after this year regardless.
I told you guys that when he got hurt, that I thought he was done because I thought he was barely hanging on anyway. I thought he was just doing it for a chance. And that team is, I think, on the verge of having some issues themselves, but we'll have to see what goes on because Taysom Hill to me was not impressive, but maybe they can turn around Jameis. Maybe they can keep that backup quarterback funnel going in the offseason. We'll have to see.
Cam Newton to the Saints. I'm telling you. He's not going to start, and he shouldn't. But he'll go learn how to play the position there.
I think it's too late for him. I just don't. I don't think he's going to take a chance on him. This would be the year that I would say would be was it a couple of years when Andy Reid jumped up into the top 10 to try and grab a quarterback? Maybe a kid from BYU. Maybe they jump up and try and get him. But
that'd be a good pickup.
Wasn't there just an article about that kid from BYU that he's like an entitled brat?
No idea. I have not seen that. I don't pay attention to BYU football.
Yeah, I don't either. I saw the article and I was like, wow, it's pretty. When's the last time you saw a college scout say he's an entitled brat and then basically say he got it from his parents? I was like, good Lord.
I'd say the last time I heard that was Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, Johnny Manziel. And then didn't we hear that with Josh Rosen too?
I don't know, but it seems right. 4 teams in 3 years. Come on.
Yeah, that's what I heard, but I could be wrong.
So let me ask you this, guys, and I don't know if we were going to do this or not, but what do you – I know we just gave our picks for this week. Do you guys have any thoughts on potential Super Bowl matchups at this point?
Bills, Packers.
Betting with your heart there?
I picked the Bills first, you moron. What do you think? The only team that I think that Rodgers would struggle to beat out of anybody that's in the playoffs right now is Tampa Bay, because I think they have more weapons than the Packers have defense. You saw what happened when they played the Bears. They beat the Saints. The Seahawks, I think that defense isn't great, but Russell Wilson has proved to be Aaron Rodgers' kryptonite. The Rams aren't great, and Washington is not going to the Super Bowl. So by default, I'm taking the Packers there. But I do think that the Packers and the Bucks at some point, if they play, that's a tough game. That's a tough matchup for the Packers, as we saw earlier in the season. But also, as you just said, it's tough to sweep a team.
Yeah, I mean the NFC. I'll give a slight edge to the Packers. I think the home field advantage for them is going to be big, because I think I kind of like Tampa Bay as the team that they're probably going to end up playing in the end. Having to go there and play in the cold, Aaron Rodgers doesn't lose there, so I probably have to give the edge to the Packers. NFC.
You're talking cold weather. I think that Tom's won more in cold weather.
Yeah, but Rodgers doesn't lose in Green Bay. Yeah. I'm not not going to, they're figuring that they're going to play the NFC Championship game there. It's all going through there. He doesn't lose there. So,
unless it's Seattle.
So wait, hang on.
Hurts.
So I know Ralph asked the question. Paul, you gave a haha, this is what I hope happens, but you don't legitimately think that's where that's going to go. So I know Terry just said that his pick with Brady getting in there, but you really think that the Chiefs aren't going to make it in? I feel like that's the most easy one. We've been saying all year, I'm not picking against the Chiefs, but now we are in the playoffs. That's where I'm trying to get to. Is that where your guys' mind is?
I was just hitting the NFC first, because I think the NFC is I think it's going to be two teams. But the AFC, the Chiefs are my clear number one favorite. I would give the Bills a close second. I think they could push them. I think that's going to be probably maybe one of the most fun games to watch. But I think Chiefs and Packers would be right now my Super Bowl picks.
That's my wishful thinking. I highly doubt we're going to get that entertaining of a game, but that's what I'm hoping for.
That's kind of where my mind was going to. That's kind of what I'm hoping for as well. Just from a pure football fandom perspective, can you imagine that game? That would be a phenomenal game. Do I think we're going to get it? I don't know if we are. I think my picks for AFC, NFC, I think the Packers are going to play the Bucks in the NFC Championship, and I feel like the Titans and the Chiefs are going to play, and that's where it's going to go haywire, and what you think is going to happen might not happen. But I still can't take anybody else but the Chiefs to repeat right now. I got to. I mean, they're stacked on every level. They're well coached, and man, they're a fun team to watch. But if we get a Packers-Chiefs Super Bowl, I will be a very happy man.
I don't know ultimately, though, if I could pick the Packers to win either one of those games. I don't know if I could pick the Packers to beat the Chiefs. I don't know if I could pick the Packers to beat the Titans, because their run defense is pretty not great. So I don't know, man. What do you think, Paul, as a Packers fan, seeing those two possibilities in your mind, where does your head go?
What, just the Titans, or who am I talking about here?
Yeah, who do you think is the most likely opponent that the Packers are going to face, since we basically all agree it's likely going to be the Packers in the Super Bowl? And then who basically are you the most worried about facing?
Most worried about, I would say the Chiefs, but I honestly think the Bills have a better chance at making the Super Bowl than the Chiefs do.
So why? What about the Bills this year has got you feeling like the Chiefs they got a better chance than the Chiefs do?
The last 3 weeks of the season, the Bills have been destroying competition. Chiefs have, granted, they didn't really play starters this week. If memory serves correctly. But the last few games where their starters played, they only won by an average of like 4 points. So I think that if it's a close, if it ends up being close, then I think that the Bills can squeak it out. I think that Josh Allen has the arm power to do something special. I think that it feels.
Did
like
you get abducted? Did something happen to you? Did someone hurt you? Is there a robot in the room? Just nod your head if there's a robot in the room.
I feel like this is the year of unlikely things, given that, I mean, what's going to push the NFL to move a game or cancel a game if the Browns don't have their head coach and they're going to make them play, which I think is the right thing to do, because you can't just stop the entire playoffs or a season for one team. But I just feel I got a special feeling about the Bills this year. And it's really the last 3-4 weeks that put me there.
Well, how much do you think that only one team having a bye in each league, in each conference, if you will, only one team gets a bye? So the Bills, under last year's rules, would have a bye this week, but they go and continue to play good competition, and barring any injury, keep that train rolling. Whereas the Chiefs, basically, they started their bye week last week. I mean, they rested everybody. Nobody said anything about that, but I guess we might get into that later. Now they're on a bye week. So basically you got 2 weeks of Patrick Mahomes on rest, not getting, game time action, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that guy's, he's not normal. So him not getting that action, I don't think is going to have a major effect. But what about the other 51?
So personally, I think that having a first round bye, and especially resting players for 2 weeks in a row, if you look back historically, that's not always the best thing to do. So I don't think that turns out to be that big of an advantage. Additionally, you said that the Bills face good competition. I don't think the Colts are good competition.
They're
think
11-5.
Oh no! Oh, maybe I'm wrong. 11-5. I didn't know they were 11-5. It's almost like Phillip Rivers does good in the regular season and then can't do anything in the playoffs.
Oh my God!
It's almost like Paul might not know how to pick games.
They've got good wide receivers. They've got a great defense. They're not a walkover.
They've got a pretty talented team, and Phillip Rivers is going to lose the game if they end up turning it into a passing game. And the Bills are showing that they can put up points, so that means that the
you
Colts
almost
are
made
going
me
to
want to change my pick to the Colts now, just to spite you.
Okay, you want to put money on it? I don't care. I'll take the money. Who thought this at the beginning of the year that I'd be the one trying to push for a bet where I'm taking the Bills?
Blink twice if you're being held hostage.
No, but the Colts they're 11-5. Yeah, they're the last seed in the AFC.
But you make it sound like they're a walkover. I don't think they're a walkover.
It's because I think they are a walkover, because I think that Phillip Rivers is a really shitty quarterback.
I don't disagree with you there. I hate his arm motion. I think we've talked about that before, but
one, his arm motion is atrocious. Two, that guy talks like he has 6 rings. He hasn't won a game that matters since high school. Seriously. Like, Phillip Rivers, overrated. The Colts, if I'm the Colts, I am praying that I can get Carson Wentz's contract next year, because that means I don't have to re-sign Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is going to lose the game for the Colts. If it's close, Phillip Rivers loses the game.
I just want to say, reference that part about the podcast earlier where I said this is Paul. Like, he literally went through 1, 2, 3 completely, like I said earlier. He's dumb. He's wrong. He does this wrong. If I was doing this, I would do it better. We got it all.
No, I think that you guys have too much faith in Phillip Rivers.
I don't have faith in Phillip Rivers. I have faith in their defense, and I have faith in their head coach. That's where my faith lies.
That's because you're Eagles fans and you think that he won you a Super Bowl and all of that. They're the number 7 seed playing the number 2. Buffalo has not been playing close games recently. I don't expect this week to be any different.
He took a team that was for the most part mediocre and made them semi-relevant again.
And the coaching staff in Buffalo took a team that was the same thing and a quarterback that was projected to be a bust because he had no accuracy and turned him into the most accurate quarterback in the league this year, who broke all the Bills passing records for single season stuff.
You need to stop. I can't take all this serum from you about
this. This is a cry for help, guys. We need to find out where he lives so we can save him. There's a problem that we need to find out about. Something is going on.
I think you got to say that you got to look at it that the Colts are a good team. They have a great defense. They have a great run game. I agree. I don't like Phillip Rivers either. I think the Bills are going to win, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than you think, Paul.
So you think that a great team gets the number 7 seed in the playoffs?
I'm not saying they're a great team, but I think they're going to give the Bills.
I quoted you.
They're going to give the Bills some problems.
Oh, man. I can't even use your own words against you. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. What is this? I feel like you guys are doing this on purpose because I actually took the Bills for once. This is ridiculous.
I think we've given him a hard enough time. We can move on.
In the end, it's not going to matter. Chiefs.
That was amazing.
I will be very, very shocked if they're not there in the end. That's for damn sure. So
when do you buy your Josh Allen jersey? When's that coming in?
It should be here tomorrow, actually.
Oh, dude, I'm totally getting him a Josh Allen bobblehead for Christmas next year.
I will put that shit on my desk.
And I'll definitely make sure it says Josh Allen's #1 fan on the bottom of it. Or we could do we could write a Make-A-Wish letter and entitle it like RuPaul.
Oh.
Send it to the Bills.
Is this because I made fun of the Eagles earlier? Like the 3 of you against me? This is ridiculous.
Do you think Josh Allen's on Cameo?
I hope not, because I think that is the dumbest thing ever.
We could get you a cameo from it.
Dear Paul, I hear you have more faith in me than my mother. Thank you.
I wonder how true that statement actually is.
Oh, I guarantee his mom would take the Chiefs. I'm sure she looked into trading Patrick Mahomes, like the moms and everything. You know.
I know you guys had wanted to chat a little bit about Birds Talk. I know you guys had wanted to talk a little bit about the whole situation. So I don't really know, to be very honest with you, where to start with all of this. So if one of you between Ralph and between Terry have a particular thought about the whole thing, I'll be more than happy to pick up with it. But there's just so much going on, and I feel like we've talked about it so much, but I do feel like it is relevant to bring up. I think the main thing for me that really was the point that I kept coming back to was like hearing about players being restrained on the sidelines when Jalen got pulled from the game, especially Kelsey. And then seeing the picture of it was like Carson Wentz, Jason Kelsey, and Zach Ertz on the field after the game, and they were all like hanging out on the field until like 1 o'clock in the morning. And just thinking about like that's probably the reason, like they're probably the last time that those guys are all going to be together on that field on the same team. So, what are your guys' thoughts? What kind of over the last week here? What's really enveloped you as an Eagles fan?
Well, if I can jump in real quick, Brandon, I'm going to keep this short because I'm going to keep this really short. Actually, number one, I am sad that the current roster, if you will, is kind of flaking out at this point, and won't be the same again as far as the core of Kelsey and Wentz and Ertz. That's not I didn't like seeing that. I mean, I liked seeing that those guys were out there at the end of the game and after the game. That's a feel-good thing. But feel-good doesn't win you football games. So, on the other hand, it's time to move on in some cases, salary cap, etc. I said I'd keep this short, so here's my thoughts. One, I don't have a problem with them, quote-unquote, tanking. If it was a 1 o'clock game, it wouldn't have friggin' mattered anyway. So you can take that shit and shove it up your ass because I ain't got time for it. Secondly, the team itself, they sucked. It's time to start over. They're not going to get rid of the people that need to go, and it's a shame. And that's really all I got to say.
Well, I mean, I'll start with the Sunday night game. I think what like Ralph said, if that was a 1 o'clock game, nobody would have said anything about it. But it's spotlighted on Sunday night, and then you got Michaels and Collinsworth, talking shit. So whatever. Any other team would have basically wanted to give that game away. I saw a stat that said the difference between the 9th pick versus the 6th pick in the draft is essentially the value of having a mid to late second round pick. So as an organization, you got to lose the game. I'm sorry. Moving up, you're going to get an elite player, but I can't say I like the way that it was handled. Just because I feel like Hurts wasn't really playing that well anyway. And their defense was giving him problems. He had like the worst rating. I think he had a 25 rating for the game. So who cares? I mean, it looks real. The optics look real bad when you pull him out of the game, and then Sudfeld comes in and I think he fumbled and threw a pick and then fumbled. But whatever. As far as that's concerned, you get the 6th pick. But let's go with that. But it's as far as the Eagles, the turnover on the team. This kind of seems it kind of relates to me the way back when the aging Phillies roster started to have the turnover and these guys started to they weren't really performing the way that they had been in years past. It's going to be weird. It's obviously sad because there's a lot of guys on the team that we've gotten to see a lot of their careers, and they've done a lot of big things for our franchise. And Ertz obviously was a huge part of the Super Bowl winning score in the game. Kelsey, I think is Hall of Fame bound. I think he's one of the most underrated offensive linemen.
I couldn't agree more with that. I don't think he's really underrated. I think in the national perspective, I don't think he gets enough praise. The one thing a lot of people say is that they really think for him to solidify his Hall of Fame status, he needs to come back and get at least another Pro Bowl or another All-Pro season. I don't think it's necessarily means that he's not going to be back next year. We'll see. But what happened on Sunday, I don't know if that helps the situation. And then the whole Carson Wentz saga is going to be kind of a traveling circus throughout the off season, because it's been reported that it's fractured beyond repair, and then the next thing you see is that it's they want to try and work something out. I don't know. I mean, it's tough because if 6 months ago, if we all said, at the end of the season, Carson Wentz might not be part of the future of the team, we'd all say we're all crazy. But he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league this year. He played terribly. Do I think he's completely broken? No. But at this point, I think that something needs to change. And from all indications, Howie's going to be back and Doug's going to be back. So maybe it is the time to move him for something and start over. But I don't know. I think that's going to be very, very tough to do with the cap implications. And someone was saying like he would have to pay the Eagles like $20 million, and then that would like lessen their cap hit, and then they could trade him, and the team that picks him up could give him that money back in like a restructure of a deal.
that just sounds like so complicated. Like I've never heard of anything like that ever being done before.
I don't think it has happened before, but it is possible. I saw that they were talking about it on ESPN today and saying
on a much smaller scale, it happened with the Tebow trade.
Okay. So yeah, I mean it's definitely going to be something it's interesting to see through the offseason. I am having my trepidations about this team. I think the thing that to me I just worry about is seeing guys like Nelson Aguilar go over to the Raiders and then basically watch Gruden and Carr and all those guys crap on the Eagles all year. Like, dude, this guy's awesome. Like, what the hell was your guys' problem? And see that happen over and over again with this team. I know it's some guys like scheme just doesn't fit them, but it's tough to see those things happen and not have second guesses about the coaching staff of this team. So I really hope that Doug can, and it seems like the front office maybe picked Doug over Wentz, but I wouldn't be surprised if before that game, the front office and everybody sat down and we're basically like, look, this is what we're doing. We're going to, when it looks like we might win this game, we're going to bring in Nate Sudfeld. And then if anybody asks any questions, we're going to say, oh, he's done really well. He's been with us for 4 years. We wanted to see, we thought it was his time to see if he could do something.
They basically said to you all week leading up to the game, this guy's not playing, that guy's not playing, this guy's not even going to dress, this guy's not playing. We're bringing up practice squad people. That's not telling you right there and then that they're not actively trying to win that game. And then secondly, as far as the game goes, and as far as Sudfeld coming in, I think at that point in the game, maybe the Eagles thought that the Washington football team would have been up by much more of a margin, and then this is all a non-issue.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that you're exactly right on that, because I think that the Eagles felt that they probably were going to be down so far at halftime. They could have just said, all right, the hell with it, put Sudfeld in the game, let him go the whole second half.
Yeah, phone it in.
They realized we're in, hold on, wait, we're still in a game. Let's leave. I mean, here's the other thing that kind of worries me about it. If you are thinking about moving on from Wentz, and I mean, we had a week ago, like we said, we heard Kelsey talking about winning, and you got to play to win. And then every time I've ever heard Jalen Hurts, he's like, I want to win, I want to win, I want to win. And then
you literally saw Jalen on the sidelines, mouthing on the sidelines, "This isn't right. This isn't right." Like, yeah, that's not good. that's not good.
If your plan is to move on from Wentz and move forward with him, at least even in just the interim, what are you doing? Like that's just gonna sit wrong with him, and then you're not really doing it your team or your locker room or the culture of the franchise any good. I mean, I get it. I mean, it's a tough call, but I think that Washington was so bad that they had to pull extreme measures.
Can I ask a dumb question to the two guys that played football on this podcast? Like, what would be is there an appropriate way for a coach to be like, look, dude, just chuck it up there and maybe you'll get a pick and who gives a shit? We get a great, you're going to be our dude from here on out. Like, is there a way to do that? No. So you basically either decide like, I'm either going to win this game or I'm going to lie and I'm going to lose this game.
No, as a player. So I don't want to pipe in too much about the future of your football team.
No, I just mean like from a player's perspective. Like, how is there a way that the coach could do that and you'd be okay with it?
No, at no point. I don't care if we haven't won a game this year. At no point am I going to sit there and not play as hard as I can. And at no point have I ever played with anybody who would be okay with doing that. I mean, from a young age in our culture, we're taught that it's worse to lose than it's good to win. So the thing that you want to do most is avoid losing because you're taught that that's the worst thing in the world. So I think a few things about this. I think that Peterson has lost the locker room. I don't know how much that is going to matter because going by what they want to do, there should be huge turnover on the roster this year. I think that picking and signing with Peterson over Wentz is a mistake because I don't think that Peterson is a top 5 to 7 coach. I do think that Wentz is a top 5 to 7 quarterback in the league when he's coached well. So I think that the Eagles chose wrong from a player's perspective. From an ownership perspective, obviously you want to lose that game because there's 3 picks in between where you're going to pick and where you're going to end up if you win that game. So if you're talking about from a GM standpoint, you have to lose that game. If you're talking about from a player standpoint, I'm very surprised that we've never seen, and especially something like this, anybody get into it physically with a head coach. Maybe I'm just being short-minded, but I can't remember any time where it just looked so blatant that a team was calling in the last game of the season. And maybe it does have to do with the fact that the game was being played at 7 instead of 1, because the whole country watches the game that's at 7 o'clock. So it's not a good look on a nationally televised game for teams to be pulling their starters. Don't think the other thing that you would want to see, at least I would want to see if I were a fan of the Eagles, you know that you're going to go into some kind of weird interim where you don't know what's going to happen between Wentz and Jalen Hurts. You've got a close game. You have to know if a quarterback can win those close games for you. So, yes, did he have a bad game up to that point? Absolutely. Most quarterbacks have bad games. Can he gut it out and get you the win? That's what you want to know. So if you're not drafting a quarterback in the first round, I don't think it matters quite as much. I don't think they're drafting another quarterback in the first round this year, given that they have a first and second round around the roster and they're already having problems. So I would have wanted to know if he could win the game.
What about you, Terry?
Yeah, I mean, never in my years of playing football was that ever a question. It was always, trying to win the game. Obviously, one, played in a playoff game in high school where we were getting beat like, I don't know, by like 40 points by the end of the game. But we were still out there trying to score. We made it to that point. I mean, we were way overmatched from the team that we played, but we still made it to that game. We wanted to at least, show we should have been there. But in this situation, when you're talking about, franchises and all the money and the money machine and then the picks and all the implications, of course the Eagles want to lose the game because of the fact that the difference in those picks is potentially the difference between a 5-star stud that, with Howie drafting, who the hell knows? But, it's a big difference. But you can't, in my opinion, you should have just let Hurts stay in the game and let him finish it out. I like Paul said, because he wasn't playing great. Now you take him out, you cause all of your veteran guys to be like, what the hell are you doing? And additionally, that was another quarter you could have seen what he did. You've had Sudfeld for 4 years. He ain't playing. I don't care. I mean, like, for his feelings, okay, go in and play the fourth quarter of a meaningless game. But for me, the football purist is telling them that they should fire Doug Peterson over this, which, frankly, wouldn't be a bad idea to make him the fall guy because of what happened. But I think Lurie and Howie are behind him. But I would much rather see them cut Peterson loose and let's start over fresh with a new coaching staff. Jim Schwartz is gone too, so why not just have a turnover on this team?
I think you got to let the GM go in this case. I think it's time to just reboot the whole thing. You keep Wentz, maybe you trade Hurts. Wentz is going to be the better NFL quarterback, in my opinion, and no competent team takes the side of a coach over a superstar quarterback. And I just think that you've got Carson Wentz, who has more money than you can trade because of all the dead money that he's going to be on the cap if you do. So you have to stick with him. So you have to find someone who's going to make him a better quarterback, and that obviously wasn't going to be Peterson. So I think that it should have been time to clean house and start over. GM, head coach, coaching staff, everything.
I'm in agreement with you on that one. I mean, I these guys have been hearing me say it for weeks now. I mean, to me, I think Peterson's just a shell at this point without the solid offensive coordinator underneath of him and everything. I mean, his play calling this year has been, like awful I get it, the injuries and stuff, but he doesn't set anything up. And you have a lot of good players that you could have, you could run the ball a little bit more. I mean, I know we always talk about that, but he just wants to throw. I just think it's stale, and we know Roseman's not a good talent evaluator. He obviously missed on a lot of guys. So, I mean, like I said before, yeah, keep him if you want to make him like the money man, but he shouldn't be evaluating talent. I know that they had that guy Dorsey come in as like a, kind of like overseeing, I guess, operations and stuff. Maybe he's going to help Howie with, picking in the draft this year. I mean, that would be great. Someone other than Howie having like kind of maybe the final say. I don't know. I just think that this was the perfect opportunity for Lurie to, start over fresh. And, if you keep Wentz, then he's getting a whole new, set of coaches that can really hone in his talents. And then, if you want to trade Hurts, you have that luxury. Or if it's the flip side of it, if you really want to, completely try and rid yourself of that contract of Wentz, then maybe you pull that buyout deal or whatever it is that they said, and then you just roll with Hurts because he's on that rookie deal. You're not paying all that money.
What I would have done if I were an Eagles fan and wanted the Eagles to do something is I would have taken Bieniemy as my coach. I would keep both quarterbacks. I'd let there be an open quarterback competition because I think that Bieniemy is a great offensive mind. And then you just kind of reboot the franchise with Bieniemy as the new coach and whoever you select as GM and go from there.
Lou Riddick. I'm telling you, Lou Riddick, Eric Bieniemy combination would be lethal. It just would. I think it would work.
I think it'd be interesting. If memory serves correctly, Bieniemy didn't even get an interview for a head coaching spot last year, right?
Yeah, and it's a crime.
That is a crime. He is one of the best minds in football. How did he not get it? So, no, I think that they should have taken him and go from there.
I think for me, whenever you see a team win a chip, and then you always know there's going to be that inevitable kind of not great period thereafter, but it's always surprising the way in which that it comes. So I think for the Eagles, that's what they're getting ready to face. I think for us, we're heading towards the end of another fun episode. I'm ready for a great week of playoff football. I think next week maybe we can get into a little bit of like head coaching talk, a little bit of fun stuff like that. We can maybe discuss a little bit more of our year-end awards, things of that nature. But I've been super excited. This is our first episode that we've had all 4 hosts here. So I want to thank you guys especially for being here tonight. It means a lot to me to have you guys here. Each and every week I get to have my friends here and get to have an excuse to hang out with you guys. Even with every crazy crap that's going on in this world, I get time for my friends. So I do appreciate it. I thank you guys for showing up. I thank everybody out there for tuning in. Make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe. Any closing thoughts here, guys, as we wrap up tonight?
Yeah, I just want to have one thing, 3 words or less. Would any of you hire Urban Meyer to be head coach of an NFL team?
No.
Not a chance.
Not my team.
Hell no. Okay, cool. We're good. Thank you.
And that's why we're all on the show. Have a wonderful night, gentlemen. I'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, have a good one, guys.
my turn. It is. You told me it was my turn.
You can talk all that you want to, yell and scream. You lost.
It is my
You
turn.
lost the game. Take as long as you want. You still lost.